Can we do that? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Hello, everybody. How are you all doing today? Welcome to our July 24th Continuum of Care meeting. I am super excited always to be with you guys. I know you've heard this before. I hope it's not worn out, but it's one of my favorite days of the month to see you guys and just work together to do everything we can to move the needle to address homelessness. I will say on behalf of myself and Michelle Davis, we are both truly grateful to those of you who nominated us, and we are both honored to continue to serve as your chair and vice chair. So Michelle, I hope you're okay if I mention those words on our behalf, but I just want to thank all of you guys. And before we dive into the meeting, I was just kind of reflecting on how important this work is. And I know you guys are all super leaders, but I want us all today to be deputized as bridge builders. Are you guys ready to sign up to be bridge builders? The more that we can be bridge builders, because sometimes the issue of homelessness can be very difficult, and bringing understanding to be able to support it to various stakeholders that might not be at the table with us is so important. And so for all of our collective team to be deputized as bridge builders, I just want us to all remember when we're out there and we're talking to the community, the concept of addressing homelessness, preventing it, ending it. It's not green issue. I mean, it's not a blue issue. It's not a red issue. It's a community quality of life issue. And for us all just to remember who our audience is, right? So if we're like talking to those that are super concerned about spending taxpayer dollars on addressing homelessness, we can talk about how we can save taxpayer dollars by reducing impacts to hospitals and jails. And if we're talking to people in the faith community, no matter what faith they are, that all people that are at risk and that are homeless are important to God. And I think no matter what stakeholder you're talking to, there's always a way to build a bridge. And that's what we want to do to be able to increase understanding in this super important issue that we're all focusing on. So I just want to say thank you guys for being leaders. We can continue to be bridge builders. And with that, what I'd like to do is to jump into the agenda. You have in the Google Drive, you have the link for roll call so that you can automatically click it. If you haven't done that, make sure that you do it, because when we get to the consent item to take action, we need to have a quorum. So please make sure that you go in there and do that. And if Zuli could just to oh, it looks like she already put it in the chat, so it's there for you to do to make sure that you are counted for attendance. Okay. Hey, Miss Tanya. Okay, another part of what's super important for me is to celebrate new members. Every time I see new members at the table, I get so excited. This is like unbelievable. If you are in the house and I call the name of your organization, can you just drop a little note in the chat? Because we want to welcome you and say we're super excited to have Joy Homes, Stronger Together, Ohlone Tribe of Carmel, First Settlers of Chino Valley, Mrs. B's Table, The Journey, Tay from RUHS Behavioral Health, Road to Redemption, Heritage Group Homes, Inc., and CCS Education and Wellness. Everybody, you can use your react signs to welcome so many new organizations to the Continuum of Care. Thank you so much for joining us. Yay, that's what I want to see.
Road to Redemption attendant, Dr. Sherry Brett. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. We'd love to have you. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay, Zuli, do we have a quorum yet?
We have 21 voting members who have signed in through the Google form. So we're almost at 22 now. So
do we have a quorum?
Not quite.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move to the next agenda item, and then we'll come back. Okay, at this time, we will take public comments for items that are not on the agenda. Members or the public are welcome to make a public comment for no more than 3 minutes, and we do have a timer that you can see. Zuli, do we have any written public comments?
No written public comments.
Okay, do we have, looks like Michelle Davis, our vice chair, has a public comment?
Just want to, just a quick shout out to Chrysalis. They just had a grand opening event, open house at their facility. It's actually in Colton, but they are serving the city of Riverside and some of the surrounding cities in their city. And so they're doing a lot of employment preparation, also doing interactive classes, trying to how to deal with conflict in the workplace. So they'll be doing a lot of one-on-one. They've also offered too, because transportation may be difficult to get folks to Colton, they're willing to come to our Riverside Access Center. So if there's other cities that are around or near Colton, please feel free to reach out to them. I'll drop their address and phone number in the chat box if you want to reach out to them for collaboration opportunities. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we're going to move on. And everybody, I would just ask for your support and patience. We have a jam-packed agenda, so we really have to stay on today so that we can get everybody in. All right, so let's go to the next agenda item, Zilly.
We have met quorum. Do you want me to go back to the consent? Okay.
Yes, please. Thank you. Okay, at this time, we're going to take action on agenda item 2, the consent item for the June 26 Continuum of Care meeting minutes. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the June 26 Continuum of Care meeting minutes, which are in the Google Drive. Do I have a motion?
This is Ben. I make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Ben. Do I have a second? Come on, voting members. Who is out there that can give me a second?
I'll second Dr. Mason, his daughter's house.
Who is that?
Dr. Mason, his daughter's house.
Okay, thank you. Any objections or abstentions?
Michelle Davis, the city of Riverside, I have to abstain. I wasn't present.
Okay. Michelle Davis is abstaining. No objections. Hearing none, the item passes. Okay, all right. You know, I love these leadership spotlights. Something that I started as the chair of the Continuum of Care that I want to continue because it's so important to make sure that we're spotlighting amazing leadership of people that make up our Continuum of Care system. And today I am super duper excited to introduce Gregory Koffos. He is the current County of Riverside Veterans Service. He works at the VSO, where he leads a dedicated staff with a mission of helping more than 50,000 veterans each year identify, register for, and receive benefits as a result of their military service. Greg has 10 years of service in the nonprofit sector working to connect unhoused residents to housing, as well as 5 years, I repeat, 5 years of service in the military in the U.S. Navy as a logistics specialist assigned to Strike Fighter Squadron 146 in Lemoore, California. I bet y'all didn't know that about him. Throughout his career, Greg has sought to draw upon relationships with like-missioned agencies to create a greater impact. Woo, go! Greg, we're super excited to hear about all the cool services that you and your team at VSO provide to our region. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Karen. Can everybody hear me? Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time. It's very exciting for us at Riverside County Veteran Services, a lot going on. And obviously, I think our number one priority right now is just educating the community on what we do and who we are. There's a lot of people that don't even know we exist. So it's time to change that and make sure that you all know where you can send your veterans to get access to their benefits. So I'll start out real quick and we'll just get right into it. And so our mission is to honor, support, and advocate the brave men and women who have served our nation by enhancing the well-being and resilience of our veterans and their families, fostering a sense of pride, belonging, and dignity as they navigate the journey of post-service life. A lot of people don't understand the dynamic of what it means post-service for our veterans, and there are a lot of struggles that happen when it comes to employment, vocation, substance abuse, disability, all these things that they deal with. And The support that's out there is not well known, and so we really want to foster that collaborative spirit with our service members and help them get access to those things. Next slide, please. So our vision: through dynamic community engagement and collaboration, we're going to bridge gaps and integrate veterans into the fabric of society, fostering a legacy of empowerment, compassion, and unity. We really just believe at Veteran Services that the best way that we're going to do things is with community. And so linking all of the service providers together to help our veterans and honor our heroes the way that they deserve. Next slide, please. So this is what we do in a very small nutshell. And it's much more expansive than what it looks like. But so our core services include claims processing, healthcare navigation, appeals assistance, benefits assistance, education benefit support, and veterans housing programs such as the VA home loan guarantee program. We ensure that our veterans have access to the full spectrum of benefits that they've earned and have deserved through their time of service. Next slide, please. Additionally, we offer support in getting their local, state, and county benefits. And a lot of people aren't aware that we just have California state benefits and local Riverside County benefits for our veterans. So these things would be dependent allowances. We support with the home loan certificate of eligibility, the toll road fee waivers that were just passed not too long ago, DMV verifications for our veterans to get their veteran status labeled on their license. We have the support with vehicle aid. So if a veteran has a disability and they need some kind of custom thing done to their vehicle or to their home, we can help with that program as well, get them linked up and offer all the services. And so I will make sure that, or actually I would say, I think that the COC will share this presentation with everybody, I'm hoping, so that you guys can have consistent access to it. And so let's go to the next slide and we'll tell you what you need. So when you come into our office, or there's multiple ways to access our care. We either have our office hours from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and we do take walk-ins, so people can come to all of our sites, and I'll get to the locations later. We do have online bookings. We have a front-facing online booking system where they can make their own appointments right there on our website, and I'll get that shared as well. We also have phone and virtual appointments, so we try to make things as accessible as possible and give a variety of ways to our services for all of our members. Additionally, we have implemented some direct online services. So for our DBS 40 college fee waiver program, we do have an online portal where they can just submit directly into our website, and we will register the college fee waiver. For those of you who don't know what the college fee waiver is, it's just basically if you are a military veteran with a 0% service-connected disability rating or higher, your dependents, your children, will have free access to California State College, and so they will get free tuition for the entirety of their degree program, which is a really great benefit. Additionally, we are at a lot of local outreach events and things of that nature. So, next slide, please. So what our veterans need to do when they come into our office, the best thing is obviously they need to bring their DD-214. If they don't have their DD-214, we can help them acquire that document. That is a record of their separation and their service. They need that to do anything with the VA. Additionally, any service records, medical records, their basic identification, and any supplemental documentation that they might have as well. If they have nexus letters or doctor's notes that basically link service to their current disabilities, and those are really important things that we can utilize to bolster their claim and make sure that they get exactly what they deserve for the service that they've done. Next slide, please. Our impact is pretty large. For a small department in the county, we touch a lot of people annually. So last year, again, we did over 50,000 engagements with veterans or dependents throughout the year, resulting in a little over 7,200 claims with an economic impact of just under $30 million. And so what we mean by that economic impact is every time that we support a veteran in getting one of their claims, they are now getting a monthly allotment from the VA, again, for the service-connected disability that they have. And that service-connected disability payment that goes to them is now being a direct impact on our local economy. So everything that we do for our veterans doesn't just help the veterans, it helps to really establish and support our economy as well. So our benefits are kind of a twofold thing. We're a double-edged sword, if you say. So great impacts. Next slide, please. Ooh, that time's going quick. So so our locations, we do have 4 main branch locations. Our Riverside office, which is right there in downtown Riverside, our Hemet office, our Indy office, and now we do have our new Temecula office. This just opened this Saturday for appointments only at the current moment, but you can book appointments on our website. But we will be having it's not really going to be a grand opening, but we're going to open 2 walk-ins as well on August 5th once we get our whole team in there. So that's a really exciting thing for us. It's been a long time coming. So District 3 finally has a Veteran Services office for that large military community that's down there in the Southwest region. Next slide, please. We also have satellite operations. Now, these operations are typically once a week, every other week, or every week, or maybe even every other month, as you can see with Blythe. So we try to be as supportive as we can to the community and go to where they're at. So you can see here we have our vet center, our Corona Vet Center, which we're actually currently at right now. I'm sorry that it says coming soon. We're there every other Tuesday from 8 to 4 p.m. And then our Marietta, we're working with Millvet, and we're there every second and fourth Tuesday. And then Palm Springs, Mizell Center, and Blythe VFW Post. Next slide, please. So exciting things to know that we're kind of working on and organized right now. So our Valor 2.0 initiative is we're really trying to push forward support to our veterans homeless community. And we're looking to link this and bridge this with our 2024 stand down. So the stand down is a huge event. It's going to be happening on September 20th. I did share some flyers with Zuli, and hopefully we can get those shared with the rest of the community. But so September 20th of this year, we will be having our veteran stand down. It is a Service Now event. It'll be an all-day thing where we will be providing on-site services for our veterans. If you have some kind of service that you can provide to our veterans, we would love for you to sign up. On our website and on the flyer, there is links that will take you to the signups for volunteers and for vendors. So please get into that. We're also doing a lot of justice-involved outreach. We just recently got into the CDRC in Norco and provided our first claim services right there to the veteran inmates at the CDRC, and it was a great event. A lot of people are getting support, and it's really going to set them up for success when they exit back into society. And so it's just a great venture that we're taking on. We're really excited about that. Additionally, and it's not on here, I should have put it on here, but we also started the Vet Friendly Business Initiative for Riverside County. On our website, there is a portal where any business who provides a direct service to veterans or some kind of discount or something like that, they can sign up on our website. We'll put them into our database, and we'll also send them a Riverside County vet-friendly business decal that they can post on their storefront, just to show your support for the community of veterans around us and build that network for our veterans. And we will have a page that will highlight every single one of these businesses, and occasionally we will post them and support them on our social media and things of that nature. So thank you so much. I got 10 seconds left, so I think I got through it. So thank you so much for the time, and we really appreciate it. Look forward to working with all of you.
Ms. Tanya?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Greg, great presentation. I know I'm pumped up. I imagine everybody else is about all the work that you're doing and the upcoming stand down event. I can tell you that we're really, really excited, and to the entire continuum of care here, I want to really, really emphasize that we're going to need your help to make this a success. If you've been with us for a long time, you've known that we have really created a coordinated and comprehensive response to homeless veterans who attend the Veteran Stand Down. And have worked collectively with the VA and the Housing Authority and our SSVS providers, such as Lighthouse Social Services and US Vets, to ensure that any veteran that is homeless and shows up on the day of the event can be fast-tracked to a BASH vouchers. These are housing choice vouchers that are set aside for homeless veterans and their families. And so while we work through that plan and really recognize that we're going to need everybody's help who's here to make sure that any veteran that shows up and is homeless doesn't have to be sent back out into the streets. That is our mission. That is our vision, which we know is big to encompass. And it's going to really take a lot of us bringing together different resources. So if you are a shelter provider or you have resources to help place veterans into housing, whether it's emergency housing, transitional housing, permanent housing, we'd love for you to connect with us. On the Housing Authority side, we're trying to connect with property management teams that we work with, such as March Veterans Village, Liberty Village, and others, to see if we can coordinate move-in the day of the veteran stand down. So again, our goal, our mission, our vision, which is a big one that we've learned through all of you to dream big, is to make sure that any homeless veteran that comes on site and wants a connection to housing, that we would work our hardest to make that a reality. So we need you. Please reach out to us. You can reach out to us at coc@rivco.org if you have some resources or would like to help us plan and coordinate that piece of the event.
Thank you, Ms. Tanya. Because we have a jam-packed agenda, what I'm going to suggest is, Gregory, you'll see Ayako has a question for you in the chat. If you can answer her question in the chat, and if anybody else of you have questions, please list in the chat. We are going to go ahead and move to the next agenda item. Gregory, fantastic job. Okay, so we have another presentation, Alternative Sentencing Programs for Justice-Involved Individuals. We have Ivy Fitzpatrick from the DA's office. Take it away, Ivy.
Hi there. Can everybody see my slide? Okay.
Yes.
So I'm Ivy Fitzpatrick. I'm a managing deputy DA here at the district attorney's office. I supervise our mental health unit and collaborative courts units. I'm not sure how familiar everybody is with our collaborative courts. I'm going to flip through these slides pretty fast, the initial ones, because we have several programs, but I'm going to try to focus on our new homeless court program after giving you an idea of how collaborative courts works. This same presentation of slides, I can make an hour and a half, or I can make it all the way to 10 minutes. So you're going to get the 10-minute quick and dirty version. If any of you have questions though, and you want to reach out to me afterwards, that's great. And I can give you a little bit more information.
You're muted, Ivy.
There we go. Okay. I don't know how that happened. So we have, the defendant comes in, he's charged with I'm just going to use he, but he's charged with with crimes, and he enters a plea. Everybody's heard that, right? How do you plead? Guilty, not guilty. We have programs that happen before a plea. So the defendant never enters a plea. That means he's diverted from the system and enters into programming meant to treat the underlying mental health issue, substance abuse issues that led to the criminality. Okay, so those are for lower level crimes, usually those diversion ones pre-plea. And I'm not going to focus on those today. What I'm going to focus on is our collaborative courts. Those are post-plea programs. And the only reason I'm focusing on them is because I don't have a lot of time. But if you'd like to hear about the other ones, I put them in the slide. Okay, so we've got diversion programs, and then we've got what's called alternative sentencing. Alternative sentencing is because instead of sending the person to prison or jail, The alternative, it's an alternative to incarceration. So they plead guilty and they're placed on probation, typically with a state prison or a local prison sentence that's suspended, meaning they're not going to serve it as long as they successfully complete the collaborative program. Not only do they never go serve any sentence, but actually their crimes get expunged from their record, reduced to misdemeanors, and then expunged so their record's clean. The idea is to treat the underlying issues so that then, they don't have a criminal record, which obviously gets in the way of housing and jobs and what we're trying to accomplish here, right? So the collaborative programs are really great. I'm going to tell you, if any of you are interested, I have a personal story about a defendant that I helped through a program years ago who actually was facing 5 years in state prison. She ended up going into what's our longest and most successful collaborative court program, which is drug court. And now she actually went and got her bachelor's degree, her master's degree in counseling, and now runs the drug court program up in Washington State. So these programs can be very, very successful. They're not always as successful as Jennifer, but I use Jennifer as an example because if you think about if we didn't have this collaborative court program, Jennifer's 3 kids wouldn't have their mom. Jennifer wouldn't be a drug court counselor who's helping all these other people up in Washington State. If you think about all the kind of the tentacles, have happened from that one act of her going to collaborative courts, all the good that came of it, it's pretty amazing. Okay. So these programs are actually very successful. The collaborative programs are exactly that. They're collaborative. They are agreements. There's MOUs between us, the public defender, the court, probation, the sheriff, and we all work together. You guys are used to seeing us fight in court. This is not where we're fighting. We're all working together to try to identify the folks who would most benefit from these programs and get them through the treatment so they can move on to success. So like I said, it's an agency partnership. And so we have several of them. One is they're all sort of similar. So I'm going to start with mental health court, and then I'm going to focus on homeless court. But mental health court is focuses on obviously what you would think mental health issues, right? So these are individuals who usually have pretty severe mental health issues. It's something that is underlying their criminality. Some crimes are totally excluded from some of these programs. Why they're totally excluded is because the folks are placed on probation, right? So we still have a public safety factor to this. Like we can't have a murderer on probation. So, they're still for pretty serious crimes, but there's going to be some that are excluded. Some of those violent crimes are going to be excluded from this. But what happens is we get a referral from the defense on this. Okay. And they say, hey, my client has mental health issues. We think they could benefit from this program. They're evaluated by behavioral health, probation, the defense, and we all get together and basically have a lunch meeting a lot of times, and it's lunch, and we sit around and talk about these folks of whether they would be a good fit in the program. And, it's also looking at whether they have we think that they're actually committed to doing the program, whether they have enough support to be, a place to live. Certain things like that have to happen before they can be entered into the program. Also, whether, it's appropriate kind of crime, because we do have to think about the other people in the program too, right? They're in group programs. So when I talk about drug court, for instance, you wouldn't want to have a major drug dealer in your drug court program. Okay, so we also have to think about how this person's entrance would affect other folks in the program. So whether they can be successful or not. So it's a 2-year probation-based program. It's very intensive, guys. I mean, it's hard to get through these programs, but we step them down along the way so that at the end they graduate, and it's wonderful when they graduate. The families come, everybody comes, we have cake, it's wonderful. And then their record is expunged. They don't have those crimes on their record so that way they can get housing and maintain employment. So we all work together. It's regular court hearings. I'm going to skip over this one. We also have ROC. This is the drug court program. It's a similar thing. It's 18 months, 24 months. It's a 2-year, usually 2-year program, but it's 18 to 24 probation-based program. It's our oldest program. The one I told you about, Jennifer, that was in. Again, certain crimes are excluded. You got to have all of us meet and talk about these folks and whether they would be a good entrance into the program. This happens to be one of my favorite programs, obviously because of Jennifer. But it's wonderful. They get tested. We clap every week when they come in. It's wonderful to see the transformation of these folks from the time they enter to the end or even midway. Like they'll come in and say, I never really knew I liked art. I was too high, using substances. And now I really like working out, or I like doing art, or I get that sort of fulfillment and that sort of rush from those activities now. And you can see them literally blossoming, in court over the course of the 2 years. It's really wonderful to see. And again, at the end, we're able to provide medication, different kinds of therapy through behavioral health. And at the end, again, their crimes are reduced to misdemeanors and expunged. That's a great program. We have Veterans Treatment Court. Greg's probably familiar with this one. Veterans Treatment Court is for veterans, just like it says. It's an 18-month to 2-year program. It's meant to treat the mental health issue or the substance abuse issue that they're dealing with has to be related to their service. And the issue that they have has to be, there has to be a nexus to the crime. Okay, so whatever the mental health issue was, whatever the substance abuse issue was, has to be related to their military service, usually like PTSD. And then that has to be an underlying kind of cause of the crime. Most of the crimes, I'm sure you can imagine what they are. They're DUIs and usually domestic violence. Again, same thing here, 18 months to 2 years, expunged at the end. We work with the VA quite a bit in this program. Finally, homeless court. This is our brand new program. It's only been around for 18 months now. This one is same folks are involved in it. It's to provide support and resources to our homeless population. These folks normally have 20 cases. I can go in and there's like a stack of 20 cases there. It's to try to get rid of all those cases, get them housing, get them jobs, get them, on their feet, and a supportive environment. It's 1 year for misdemeanors because it does apply to misdemeanors, 2 years for felonies. There's volunteer work, actual work, substance abuse treatment, housing's provided. And again, it eliminates all those fines and fees and convictions that hold them back from getting sustainable housing and jobs. What do you think, guys, is the hardest thing to get these folks to participate in this program? Homeless court, what do you think? Anyone?
Transportation, being able to get them to come back.
Getting them to court.
Yeah.
Getting them to court. Okay. Getting them to court. And that's the biggest obstacle. They don't want to leave their stuff. They don't want to come. I mean, part of it is they're scared to come to court, but they also don't want to leave their stuff. Probation, we're looking forward to hopefully in the future, we will be having a remote court that will go out there. That will help substantially with that problem. Okay. It's a little bit of ways. We have, the money, we need to have an MOU, all that kind of stuff. It'll probably be that, everybody is in the court, and then there's a feed, video feed to the defendant. Okay. But we're working all that out. But that will help substantially with at least getting them to come to that first court appearance. That's really kind of gets in the way of really getting them started. So they're referred by the defense attorneys. If you know anybody, I tell people look, if you come across someone, call the public defender's office that you think might benefit from it. They get a behavioral assessment from a therapist with behavioral health. A risk assessment is done by probation, and it's the same thing as the other programs. We roundtable it to determine whether they're suitable based on their criminal history, the likelihood of compliance with the treatment plan, and the likelihood of success. Now, in all of these cases, the victims are allowed to speak. The victims have constitutional rights as well in the state of California. They get to come give a statement in court that the court also considers as part of this. And that's part of their rehabilitation too, right? In understanding the impact that their crimes had on other people, right? Other members of our community. So that's part of it, part of the treatment too. Then the judge makes the final decision. They have to comply with this treatment program. There's random drug and alcohol testing. group counseling, individual counseling. They have to go to self-help meetings. Usually there's like an AA or NA component to these, and frequent court progress hearings. And then they have to pay victim restitution because, again, it's part of like some accountability there. That's part of it. Graduation is awesome. I think some of you have been to these. It's really great when I see Greg nod his head, when they graduate, it's really something. There's a lot of tears, a lot of hugs. It's really great. We're all in this together, and it's a wonderful feeling when you see somebody walk out the door and the case is dismissed. I'm just going to go to the numbers so you can see it. In 2023, the year in statistics, this is a snapshot at the end of December of how many people we had in collaborative courts programs in the whole county. So you can see that we had 227 total defendants countywide in a collaborative probation program, meaning post-plea, the ones I talked to you about just now. And then we had people in a diversion program pre-plea, we had 381. And if you look, there was 441 people waiting to get in to a diversion program and 213 waiting to get into a collaborative courts program. That's a lot of people, folks. Okay, and they're very effective programs. This is kind of the end. So the collaborative courts programs in 2023, we graduated 109 people between mental health court, veterans court, and drug court. That's great. That's 109 people that we were able to divert from incarceration and actually get their lives back on track. In home, our first year, we had 16. Now, some people might be like, oh, 16, that's nothing. That's 16 people. I count one as a victory. Okay. 16 is great, I think, for a first year. And I expect to have a lot more this year. And then diversion programs, those are the pre-plea programs. We had 136 graduates. So actually, and I'll let you know, Riverside is kind of a leader in this area, statewide. Believe it or not, we are quite a leader. And so anyway, it was my pleasure to present. I'm sure I'm up on time, but if you have any questions, let me know, or if you want to give me a call, I can talk to you more about it.
And everybody, in the interest of time, because we've got a packed agenda, if you do have, Ivy, good job. That was like absolutely amazing. I mean, thank you so much for all
Sure.
that you all do. It's phenomenal. And I hope that if you guys have questions, that you'll put them in the chat. I don't know how long you can stay on with us, Ivy, but if not, we can make sure to get them to you. We're going to go ahead, everybody, and we're going to jump to the next presentation, agenda item 5.2, Hope to Home Landlord Incentive Collective. We have Terrell Rimbo with the county. Take it away.
Thank you. Good morning. Good afternoon. Sorry. My name is Terrell with the County Riverside Housing and Workforce Solutions, COC. This is a presentation on our Hope to Home program. Next slide. Program introduction. What is Hope to Home? Next slide. Hope to Home envisions an end-to-end homelessness within Riverside County. To accomplish this mission, we support our partners to operate profitable properties while renting to those in our community who need it most. Let's create homes, build connections, and change lives together. Next one. So what is Hope to? Hope to Home is a collective of property owners and managers in Riverside County who rent their units to households regaining stable housing with the support of local support service organizations. Next slide. Our Hope to Home tenants typically use one or two of the main housing programs to pay for their monthly rent. One, rapid rehousing, administered by local organizations who provide in-home case management and who pay rent directly to the landlord, in a step-down model to help tenants achieve self-sufficiency. The other program would be permanent supportive housing, so provides more long-term assistance through tenant-based rental assistance through pairing a housing choice voucher, and also comes with case management services. So in order to be eligible for the program, the particular participant through their service provider would have to have rapid rehousing or permanent supportive housing behind them. Next slide. What are the benefits for our property owners? So Hope to Home does offer two types of incentives. Financial resources designed to keep your property well maintained and valuable. So one is a damage reimbursement up to $3,000. So let's say one of our service providers apply for a unit and they get accepted and the participant moves in. After the lease is over, if there's an extensive damage that the security deposit doesn't cover, the property manager and our landlord can apply for what's called a damage reimbursement up to $3,000 to offset some of the costs that the tenant or the participant may have incurred while living in the unit. And of course, it's done. We would need receipts. We would need documentation documenting those damages as well. The second incentive that is available is a vacancy loss up to 2 months monthly rent. So sometimes we do have or there are participants or clients that move into a unit, maybe they become uncomfortable, maybe something happens and they just vacate the unit. If that was to happen, Hope to Home can pay up to 2 months of a vacancy payment as long as that unit can be rented out back to us. Next slide. Also, a dedicated owner support team to help with any questions or issues that may arise. So Hope to Home acts as a liaison between property partners and housing support providers. So for instance, let's say a service provider moves one of their participants in.
I looked at the numbers. I think they look okay, but go ahead and glimpse and send her the green.
Let's say one of our service providers moves a participant in, and maybe the participant having some problems at the unit, and the landlord sees that the case manager or housing specialist hasn't been to check in on them. The landlord can contact me because I know I have a list of everyone who moves in. I have a list of all the service providers that we do work with, as well with the case managers. So I can contact that organization or that case manager to say, hey, one of your participants is having some issues at their unit. Can you go in and check in with them or check in on them? So just act as a liaison between the management company and then the provider as well. Next slide. Also, we do offer free marketing on our online listing database, which is called PadMission. Hope to Home helps you list your vacancies on our easy-to-use database that is exclusively accessed by housing support agencies. So this program isn't available to the public, right? It has to be, you have to sign a consent form and to be able to use this this particular PadMission site. Very similar to like affordable housing or other rental sites. You can list your property on there pretty easy, and it's very user-friendly and to navigate. Next slide. So joining Hope to Home. So you go through orientation. So I'll reach out to a housing partner or a property management company who I feel may be a good fit for our program. I'll reach out to them, give them an orientation on what the program has to offer, what they need to do on their part. They sign a membership agreement form. They list their unit. Once they list their unit, then service providers are able to go into PadMission, search units, look up units. They can apply directly from PadMission for units for their participants. And then we have the support of the Hope to Home and me being as a liaison as well with the damage claim and vacancy payment. Next slide. You can visit Hope to Home, rivco.org to learn more information and to also schedule orientation and to also start listing your units. It's rivco.padmission.com. Next slide. Now for our service providers who can access the Hope to Home database, COC agencies who provide unit search assistance to households experiencing homelessness. A household must be utilizing a rental subsidy and receiving supportive services at the time of a participant's lease up. So rapid rehousing, PSH voucher, etc. How do I connect an owner to Hope to Home? Direct interested owners and managers to connect with Hope to Home staff via the Hope to Home website. So again, like I did mention, we do have the website that is available if anyone is interested in joining the collective, and they can also email me as well, and I can schedule orientation or set up a phone call with them to explain about the program in more detail. using Hope to Home in your unit search assistance. So share the benefits of the Hope to Home with owners and managers who work with clients. It's also a way to re-engage with owners who may have recently stopped participating. Since we have a new fund available that is available, it may change their mind. So also with the new law that's out, that landlords and property managers cannot charge double rent for the security deposit anymore. And for owners who may have said no to working with your participant or working with the program, you can definitely pitch this program with the incentives that are available. It may sway them or change their mind into working with you and actually letting your participant lease up with them. Next slide. Also, don't forget to mention the damage and vacancy fund. We do have mitigation funds also. So mitigation funds are, let's say the last barrier to a participant moving in is they can't pay their deposit and your organization doesn't have funds to pay the deposit. You reach out to other organizations to see if they can help with the deposit, but you just haven't had any luck. If that is the last barrier to your participant moving in, Hope to Home can pay like a deposit up to $1,500 for that, but it would have to be the last barrier for the client moving in. Also, something like a refrigerator or a stove, if that's something that the participant needs and they would need that before moving in, and you tried other resources to try to get them one, we can also provide that. Claims are capped at $3,000 per household. So again, like the damage claim waiver is up to $3,000. Property partners will have to fill out a damage claim form, and that is through our website. This is the membership agreement form. Agreeing to partner with Hope to Home is not a legally binding commitment to lease to all applicants referred via the network. It is an indication that the property partner is willing to consider tenants who do not meet typical rental criteria, but who are working towards successful tenancy with support of local service providers. So I do let every property partner know that some of our participants, this is their second chance. They're getting a second chance. They're trying to get back to self-sufficiency, so they may not meet a lot of the rental requirements. So if you do want to partner with us and be entitled to the incentives, we would like for you to lower some of those rental criteria. So some of them may not meet the credit criteria. They may have an eviction. So if you want to partner with us, you have to look over some of those things, and they will. In order to accept the program, that's one of the conditions. And so all of the property partners that are in PAD mission are willing to bring down some of those criterias. How do I find units? Case managers and housing navigators can register for their own PAD mission account, and they can start searching the inventory for available units. Currently, right now, I have over 18 different property managers or landlords that have agreed to list their units in PAD mission, and there's over 40 available units right now that are ready to be leased up. How do I help a client apply? Again, you can apply directly through our PAD mission site. You can send a message right through our site. You can attach the application right then and there. Any documents, ID, Social Security card, proof of income, you can all do that through our PAD mission site. So it's like a one-stop shop. We try to make it. Also, with the Hope to Home, we have a cover letter that comes with the application that we would like all of our providers to provide. And the cover letter kind of gives a synopsis of the applicant or the participant. So it kind of gives what kind of plan that they have, who's working with them. Do they have a case manager? Do they have a nurse? Do they have a housing navigator? You know, and then their contact information, so that the manager has some information about that individual. I talked about the flex fund. Again, we have the up to $1,500. So again, that's if a client needs a deposit, or if they need any appliances, we could have up to $1,500 we could use for that. But again, like I said, it's the last barrier for them to move in. And for service providers, the workflow is you engage with the service provider, let them know about the program, use PAD mission to go in and you can start searching for units. You apply with a cover letter, you have the lease up, and then after the lease, if there's any claims to be had, you can use our website to apply for the claims. Also, when you do the lease up, it's important to upload the lease into HMIS also. So I do specify that you should be doing it anyway, but I just make sure that they are uploading that lease into HMIS. So the property partner just clearly identifies the roles and responsibilities of what I do and what we outline for our service providers also. Next steps, I will provide partnership agreements can be sent out. There's a service provider handbook, and then you can direct any interested owners to our Hope to Home website. That's it. Next slide. Any questions? Whoops.
Everybody, in the interest of time, first of all, good job. Lots of exciting resources. So glad that this resource is available. I know we're going to exponentially increase landlord partners out there. Thank you for the good work that you do. If you all have questions about this amazing program, please place them in the chat, and we'll be sure to get you an answer. Thank you so much. Let's go ahead and move to the next presentation. Okay, agenda item 5.3, grants passed versus Johnson. This is the decision of the Supreme Court. So Greg, I believe you're going to be presenting. I'm not sure if Tanya is jumping in with you, but we're excited to hear your presentation.
Okay, she may if I do something wrong. So, so I'm just going to go off one slide, and probably most people are familiar with the decision, the 6-3 Supreme Court decision. Basically, the grants pass Oregon v. Johnson case was seen as a challenge to the Martin v. Boise case that was upheld by the Ninth Circuit years ago, that based on cruel and unusual punishment under the Eighth Amendment, that if you did not have shelter beds available, you could not, quote unquote, criminalize or at least fine or imprison homeless individuals sleeping in public areas. As you're aware, the Supreme Court overturned Martin basically with this decision, deciding that cruel and unusual punishment is directed at the way you punish someone and not for the specific acts that were called out in the grant pass ordinance, which is basically they were outlining where people could or could not sleep, and it applied to all people. So that's how the court came down on that, noticing that it was not a violation of the Eighth Amendment. All of us can debate whether or not they were right, and I'm sure we will. But I do want to highlight that, again, this does do away with the Martin v. Boise ruling, which now allows local governments to adopt and enforce anti-camping ordinances that are generally applicable. And again, that is to everyone as a whole, and they don't identify the status of a certain member. Now, in practice, we know that a lot of that enforcement will specifically target our homeless population, unhoused population. I also want to highlight, though, our team at HWS had met with our county council to not only discuss the outcome of the decision, but it really is important to remember that enforcing a ban on camping or sleeping in public and subjecting individuals to penalties may run afoul of some federal and state laws as well, primarily around the issue of property rights. The Due Process Clause of the 4th, 5th, and 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution safeguard individuals from unjust government actions that deprive them of life, liberty, or property. And that's where the property aspect will come into this. Again, in California Civil Code Section 655 and 2080, it also sets out procedural requirements for collection and return of private property. Many of the ordinances that you see will do 72-hour ones. Those are the more humane ones as far as notice of violation. Some we're seeing as short as 24 hours. And then again, most of them, if they're done in accordance with the property regulations, will store property as well. I want to talk more about how this impacts the COC and our partner providers. And this is where Tanya may jump in at the end if I'm forgetting anything. I think it's important to note that HWS, in collaboration with many of the people on this call, have been working very closely with public safety agencies over the last few years to establish relationships on their outreach efforts, the implementation of the CBAT teams through behavioral health. Our mobile crisis management teams work with law enforcement, both through contracted cities through the sheriff's department, as well as individual police departments throughout the county. We believe we've established some very good relationships That does not mean that cities will still not implement an ordinance. We saw that in Palm Springs a couple of weeks ago. I believe Indio too is moving forward with one, and we know we have others that are on the horizon as well. I did actually go and give public testimony in Palm Springs. We've also discussed with other city officials, and Tanya and I are working on a city presentation to elected officials and city managers. That we want to continue the partnership that we've developed, that we really are emphasizing that criminalizing homelessness is not the way to solve homelessness. We understand the challenges of certain individuals that if they are breaking the law, they need to, have the proper consequences. But we're also cautioning jurisdictions as well that they need to be careful in how they communicate this to their constituents, because this is not going to eliminate homelessness. It's not a panacea. One is that we don't have jail space, and I would venture to guess, and probably confident in saying so, 95 to 99% of these individuals will not spend time in jail. Most of these will be misdemeanors, and we don't have the bed capacity anyway. Additionally, it's important to remember too that as you rack up fines and penalties, it becomes more difficult to actually get into housing, whether in signing a lease or just having the cash before you can pay off those things. We, again, I'll say we already have some perfect examples of how we've done this in regional capacities. The Santa Ana River Bottom, the newly started San Jacinto River Bottom. I know Karen in the Corona Norco area works very closely with law enforcement. Partnerships with the CVAG, Coachella Valley Association of Governments, their Housing First program works closely with law enforcement as well. And so we're really just emphasizing you as providers to continue that dialogue. And ideally, especially on larger encampments, that we as a department, as well as our providers in conjunction with each other, are utilizing the best practices that we've already done to take a really collaborative and comprehensive approach before we actually have to subject these individuals to any fines or imprisonment. So that's a very high level, and I see Tanya is probably going to correct me on some things. So.
Not correct you, just add that once again, we know that each of your different agencies provide a realm of services to support people who are experiencing homelessness, and the opportunity that we see with this new legislation is that we want to make sure that cities and their public safety departments, in addition to the county's public safety departments, know that you exist and know the resources that you have available. As Greg spoke to, we have already started conversations with our county sheriff's department and have built really strong relationships with many of the different stations. So they know when they come across someone who is experiencing homelessness to call us. And so I think our hope is that if you're in a city or you're in an area providing direct services to individuals who are homeless, please make sure that those jurisdictions, those city contacts know where you are and how to access the different resources that you have so they can call you as needed. Another idea that Greg and Mike Walsh, our assistant director, and I talked about earlier this week was about, having a daily report that goes out regarding shelter bed vacancy across the county so that law enforcement teams have this as a tool that they can regularly access, in addition to, all of your different teams, the street outreach teams, because again, we know we need places to put people into. And while we are often on these calls sharing that those beds are full, in reality, there are times where there are a few vacancies. And so we just want to make sure that we're maximizing the amount of resources that are available. So we see this as an opportunity to re-engage our public safety partners, to share them, overwhelm them with all the different resources that you provide so that they can continue to contact you first to coordinate and facilitate linkages, because we recognize that oftentimes they are the very first responders for people who are experiencing homelessness. So also have a great presentation, Greg.
Tanya and Greg, there's something that I wanted to mention to both of you, and I would like to put on my city hat, because this is real. I want you all to know what my biggest fear is. To me, anti-camping ordinances don't have to be bad. Corona has one, and it's a compassionate ordinance. We always offer beds every single time. Even if we are at capacity, we will make room. So anti-camping ordinances don't have to be a bad thing. And Greg, I agree with you. These are low-level misdemeanors, offenses. People are out in 2 to 4 hours. So arresting and jailing doesn't work. With my city hat on, I want to talk to all of the other cities that are out there. What my fear is that because now with overturning of Martin versus Boise, cities aren't mandated to offer a shelter bed in order to enforce anti-camping laws. So my hope is that you heard me talk about bridge building at the beginning of the meeting, building understanding about the critical nature of understanding good policy. So arresting and jailing doesn't work. Cities need to continue to invest in homeless solutions. The county does not have the resources to take this on, and it's only going to impact the quality of life for city businesses and residents if they quit investing in homeless solutions or never even start in doing that. And so it is my hope and prayer, all of you guys, that we can work together to support Greg and Tanya and the county. Michelle, I know your city feels the same way, right? I'm sure you might have something to say, but we need to have positive messages to other cities about how important it is to continue to invest in homelessness.
Well said, Karen.
Yeah.
And just to following that, Tanya had talked about, doing the inventory of the shelter beds, because we're getting in fire season as well. And so we're starting to see some cities get impacted. And so where are we going to put these folks when they're out in certain areas and they're now having to be vacated because of certain fires? So we want to make sure that that shelter update will happen and that everybody's going to be able to provide some input as well.
Yeah, and Karen, I'm really glad you brought that up because, as you know, we've really tried to develop the partnerships between cities over the last few years. I believe we're leading many regions across the state in those partnerships. But what's been great is that the cities have realized that it does take some commitment from them as well, because it does, you use the term, it takes a village. Yes. And I'm really glad you brought up that's what Tanya and I and Mike and Heidi talked about too, is that we just hope this doesn't spur people to think that they don't have to invest. What we've really tried to do, and I think a lot of you recognize the work that we've done in, again, collaboration with you all, the investments that we utilize through CARES Act, through ARPA, through HIP, through HAT, to build that complete continuum so that as locales and regions develop the shelter capacity that we've provided, again, in collaboration with all of you on this call, that continuum to move people through the system in a more effective way. And I think cities, and I hear it from cities, that realize that that's working here and are doing that buy-in. So I appreciate those comments.
If anybody else have any more comments, and I hope that this will be the beginning of continued discussions. This is a really big issue. And the last thing we want to do is go 25 steps back when we've made so much progress. So Greg and Tanya, thank you so much. And I look forward to, I know nothing is impossible with the great minds that are at this table. So thank you so much. If there's no other questions, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next agenda item, standing agenda items. And we'll start with the Board of Governance update. So if we can move to the next slide. Woo, I'm so excited. We have the results. Thank you all for participating. Those of you that are voting members, remember the importance and power of the continuum of care leadership. When you are a voting member, it is you as voting members who have the say and who sits on the Board of Governance. And so what I'd like to do at this time is announce the various seats and the election results. So we'll start with the public sector seat, government. Happy to announce that Dr. Ben Howdegi with IHP was reelected. Yay, Ben. So excited to continue in that leadership role that you've been playing. I know you've been the vice chair of the BOG. Also excited to announce a new member, Daryl Fry, with Assembly Member Dr. Corey Jackson's office. So that's the public sector seat for government. Moving on to the public sector seat for university, we now have Dr. Kendrick Davis from UCR. And then for the private sector seat in business, super excited to see that our beautiful, wonderful Leticia de Lara, who is the current chair of the BOG, she represents the Regional Access Project Foundation. Excited to see that she was reelected. For the nonprofit sector seat for victim services advocate, super excited that our wonderful, amazing Angelina Coe from Shelter from the Storm was reelected. We love you, Angelina. We're so excited that you were reelected. And then excited to announce formerly homeless seat for the Youth Action Board. You may recall, everybody, we actually reconstructed the charter to add this seat to the BOG, not just to comply with HUD requirements for YHDP, but it's really important for the high functioning of our system. And so we want to welcome Danielle Johnson from the Youth Action Board. So all of you, good job. If you're in the audience today, new members, re-elected members, we're so excited to have you on the BOG. I'm looking forward to working with you all. I have the privilege of sitting on the BOG because I am the Continuum of Care chair, and I'm humbled to work with this amazing group of leaders. So congratulations on our BOG election results for 2024. So with that, let's go ahead and move to the next agenda item. Okay, Continuum of Care and HMIS lead agency update. We have our Miss Emma.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today at our monthly Continuum of Care meeting. It is my pleasure to provide you with the COC update. It is a short and sweet one today. If you can advance to the next slide, please. Just a quick YHDP application update. I know that we provided you with a quite lengthy update at the last meeting. I did want to make sure that we notified the COC that we successfully submitted our application with 9 projects on July 1st, including 1 application for a PSH project with Sigma Beta in Moreno Valley and also our planning grant. Next slide, please. Madam Chair, I know that you just announced the Board of Governance new members, but I did want to take the time to highlight our Danielle Johnson. We are excited to welcome her. She is a longtime Youth Action Board member to our Board of Governance. Danielle has served on the YHDP core planning team and is intimately involved in the development of the YHDP coordinated community plan. We are so excited and proud to have her take on this leadership role, and we are looking forward to working with her and to learn from her personal expertise in youth service delivery. So I just wanted to give her a shout out and to make sure that everyone knew and that we screamed it from the mountaintops how excited we are and how proud we are of her. And next slide, please. We are also thrilled to inform the CAC that our community has been accepted to the Connect Home USA Technical Assistance Opportunity, HUD's signature digital inclusion program. We are excited to learn more about becoming a digitally inclusive community through the Connect Home, the federal government, local governments, public housing agencies, and also internet service providers, nonprofit organizations, and stakeholders can collaborate on a common platform to develop a locally tailored solution to narrow the digital divide. This program is intended to target individuals that are being assisted through HUD funding. We began our technical assistance with the team today, and we look forward to providing regular updates to the COC on additional progress and information as we learn about it. So right now, we are just launching in terms of understanding what the program components are, what's involved, the partnerships that need to be established, et cetera. So we will be providing additional information as it becomes available to us. And I'd like to call on Tanya. She's going to provide a quick update for us. I know she had to.
Yeah, she's on.
Okay,
I'm here.
Perfect.
So I think that Jamie was gonna go first. I believe her slides are next, and then I will follow.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thanks,
It's all
Tanya.
yours, Jamie.
I appreciate it. Hi, everyone. Jamie Goodner with the Continuum of Care. Just wanted to give you guys some upcoming information for our anticipation that we have of our HUD Continuum of Care Notice of Funding Opportunity. You can go to the next slide, please. So right now with the NOFO cycle, what we know is that each year HUD releases this Notice of Funding Opportunity, which requires our COCs to evaluate each project, their performance using our local evaluation methodology, and then establish our funding priorities for new projects and or expansion projects for our existing continuum of care subrecipients, and that will be through a new project request for qualifications awarded via competition bonus and or reallocation funds. You can go to the next slide, please. We will also establish and apply a local reallocation policy to projects eligible for renewal and establish a program priority list ranking policy which communicates our tier 1 and tier 2 priorities to HUD. And then of course we would conclude with submitting our consolidated application. You can go to the next slide. So the program components that we have here may be used to create and operate projects under the program that's listed on this slide. These are the programs each year that HUD will allow us to submit applications for. If anything new does come about, we of course will notify with our announcements that we make. Next slide. And this is more of a detailed workflow. It gives a bit more detail of what we just talked about in the beginning. They will start with our NOFO. We will then process our request for qualifications, and we will accept new projects and of course also be looking at scoring our renewal projects. During that, we are convening our independent review panel, which will rank and score, and those projects that pass will be included in our application to HUD. And we, of course, have to bring this to our BOG for final approval before our submission. Once we do submit our application, HUD does take a bit of a process. I think as we all know, it's several months turnaround. So we may look at a 6-month process for us to actually see an award and what those dollar amounts may look like. And then of course, after that, we will get our grant agreements and work on subrecipient agreements with those who are awarded. Next slide, please. So this is our summary of the application results. You can see here for fiscal year 2023, the total amount requested was 10.3 million. We were awarded 11.2 million. Unfortunately, we did not have any new projects that were submitted be awarded by HUD, and our planning grant, which is considered a new project each year technically was funded, but that is something that we reapply for year after year. So just as another note too, Riverside County's total score for our consolidated application was higher than the HUD national average. Their national average was 162. We scored about 166.7. So that's a huge deal. And that comes from everybody's wonderful project proposals. Of course, the county, we will continue to strive for improving our processes and go through that internal review each and every year to see where we can make those further improvements. Next slide, please. And what we know, coming from the fiscal year 24 Appropriations Act, the NOFO process will now be a 2-year process, meaning every other year we will have a NOFO, which is exciting, but we don't know details yet. All we know is that this will be every other year and it will free up COC capacity. We will be able to take that off year to recalibrate the COC, develop effective, efficient, and equitable homeless response systems. And then we'll also be able to review program fidelity on the off year to provide performance feedback, communicating performance expectations, strengthening and streamlining partnerships, and looking for process improvements. Next slide for me, please. And then just some things to consider. The NOFO, again, has not yet been released. We imagine that HUD will continue to incentivize the projects that align with HUD priorities. Currently, those 9 priorities that we have here as referenced from last year's NOFO are ending homelessness, using a housing first approach, reducing unsheltered homelessness, improving system performance, partnering with housing, health, and service agencies, racial equity, improving assistance to our LGBTQ plus communities, persons with lived experience, and increasing affordable housing supply. And also, we will definitely encourage our participants, all of our new projects and renewals, to pre-identify units with landlords and developers, which can help out in the long run by identifying those up front. We have experienced that there are developers within the county who are looking for operating and supportive services, and HUD funds can be used to bridge that partnership with the developers and providers. So once we do get that release from the NOFO, another thing that we will inform you of with the collaborative applicants is whether there is a consolidation. I know some agencies have expressed that interest, and the NOFO will be where they will inform us whether this will be allowed this year or not. So of course, once we get that information, we will be sure to inform you all. And next slide. And this is the last slide. This is just how to stay connected. We want to make sure that you guys have our 2024 NOFO webpage, which is live now from our COC main page. You'll see the 2024 competition link, and that will take you through the process of what we've done so far and what's coming. You can also sign up for our COC mailing list, and that's where all of our announcements will come from for the NOFO process and where we're at. I think some of you recently got our email today about the independent review panel that's being convened. We know that it is not a conflict of interest if an agency is applying for a different component than what they're reviewing. However, if you are a HUD COC current subrecipient, we will not be utilizing that agency with the independent panel review. So we do have a quite large list up front this year. So thank you for those who have shown interest, and we will definitely be connecting with you soon. Also, please write to us, coc@rivco.org, and then stay current with our HUD Exchange website so you can receive all of that from HUD Exchange. And that'll be it for me.
So thank you. I do think we want to reserve time for people to ask questions. This is important, but I have 2 questions of you first before we open it up. I might have missed this. Forgive me. What you just presented, does it also include the HUD COC Builds NOFO, or are you guys going to do that separate from the regular?
The separate
I'll let
NOFO.
Tanya. Yeah.
Separate? Okay. I just wanted, so more to come, because that's a special. Tanya, you mentioned that to me, and I had gotten an email notice about it as well. So also one comment that I wanted to make, please correct me. Jamie, you mentioned, to the organizations how we scored, and we were scored higher, right, than the national average. And you said thank you to the agencies who applied. But I believe beyond those agencies, aren't we scored as a whole region and a system? And there's other metrics. So I just want to make sure, if that is true, that everybody remembers we're all in this together, and that we are judged not just on the proposals, but the function of our system. Everybody is a part. So
absolutely. Thank you, Karen, for that.
Yeah. Okay. This is a really important part of our process, everybody. I know that HWS always does a great job in, they'll have a pre-bidders conference, but does anybody have any questions right now? Okay, thank you. Well, let's go ahead and
Madam
move
Chair.
up. I think, Tanya, are we turning it over to you? Yes. Oh, some more exciting.
We are. And Madam Chair, you are the one who encouraged us to talk about all the different funding opportunities that were upcoming. So we credit this direction to you. Before I jump in, what I wanted to share regarding the HUD COC NOFO, all of you know that once we actually release an RFP, the extent of the conversations that we can have with you are very, very limited because it's an open competitive process. So we have this window of time between now and when we open the RFP, which be about a week, 2 weeks, depending when the NOFO from HUD drops. So as Jamie emphasized, there are some key priorities, which include HUD wanting to invest in projects that facilitate connections with healthcare systems, persons with lived experience, housing authorities. So I often think of his daughter's house. And if you remember, Dr. Mason, in the very beginning, you expressed an interest and we were able to facilitate a connection to the housing authority. And so we are very happy and see our role as a COC lead agency in facilitating those connections. We want you to be successful. We want to help bridge those partnerships. So if you are interested, now is the time to reach out to us and we can set up meetings, virtual meetings or in-person meetings with the right agencies at the table to help your visions come to life. So please keep that in mind. So jumping gears now into the state's Homeless Housing Assistance and Prevention Program. This is HAP funding, which we are now getting ready at a local level to release a request for proposals for the 4th round. So there is about $4.4 million that we will be releasing through a local competitive request for proposals process in mid-August. And so again, wanting to come to the continuum of care early on because this is money dedicated to the COC. And I want to remind all 86 of you that are here in person, in addition to all of our different members, we have over 200 members that are not on today's call, that you have the ability to influence how this money is used and coordinated through our homeless system of care. So the reason for my meeting today is to help you plan for this, but also to share sort of a strategy that we are proposing as staff to use this in a way as Karen Roper, our chair, always describes, in a coordinated systems approach or through a systems approach lens. So as part of our efforts to address homelessness in a regional basis, we are proposing to use this $4.4 million to coordinate 100 placements. And so in the end, we know that more than 100 people will be served because many of the people that your agencies provide housing and services to are often couples, families with children. But at a minimum, with this resource, we anticipate being able to serve 100 households, 100 new placements. And on August 15th, we will be going to the Board of Governance to share with them the conversation we're having with you, the continuum of care, and to share with them how we, as a continuum, are proposing to use the fund. So if we advance to the next slide, what you'll see is that, and I apologize, I just noticed that the wording here is a bit skewed. So I'll do my best to read what is in writing here verbally and send you a revised version of this. But the idea here is to break out the $4.4 million into 3 main buckets to get to the goal of housing 100 individuals. And to paint a clearer picture, the idea is to use this as a demonstration project, similar to what we've done with encampment responses, so that all of these different buckets are working collectively together to get to the 100 house. So we're proposing to set aside $800,000 towards street outreach and fund 4 to 6 street outreach teams that will cover all 5 of our districts. Each of those teams will be responsible for case managing folks that are out in the field. So that means that they will coordinate and develop individual service plans with the clients that they serve, which focus on deliverables that help that person self-resolve or enter permanent housing. We want to emphasize that a lot of people who are homeless are able to exit that track by reunifying with their family members when they are able to get the supportive services that they need. Sometimes that is through a combination of, behavioral health or workforce services and mitigation services that allow that person to reunite with a family member. Oftentimes it's helping them find a place that a room that they can rent, that they can afford, using very limited resources through HAP. Or sometimes it's, we often hear law enforcement talk about like bus ticket home programs. We have individuals who are in our county, are not from our county, and really would like to return to a different state, a different region, where they have resources to become stably housed. But it also recognizes that a lot of the individuals that street outreach teams come in contact with are going to need ongoing rental subsidies and access to emergency housing. And so for that reason, the idea is that those street outreach teams would work in coordination with emergency shelters. And so you'll see we're proposing to set aside $1.4 million, almost $1.5 million to reserve beds at shelters throughout our entire county that those street outreach teams I just referenced will have direct access to. Too often in these calls and in our conversations with your very street outreach teams, they will share with you not having access to resources for the people right in front of them. The idea here is to create a coordinated pathway where we're all working together and wrapping our arms around the same individual. So shelters, I know our shelter providers that are on the call, it has been a minute since we have funded shelter resources in this way. So we're really excited about being able to partner with you. The shelter resources that are being provided intend to, at a minimum, support 25 shelter beds. We included additional cushion here because we've heard you loud and clear that in order to provide sheltering services, you need supportive staff. You need more resources to pay staff what they need. And sometimes that may mean clinical staff that can really care for individuals and help case manage them. So again, this investment is intended to be one that shelter providers are now being asked to onboard the staff they need to fully wrap their arms around each individual. The idea then is shelter providers, the people that you serve, will then be referred over to rapid rehousing providers. And we've set aside a total of $1.8 million with the idea that, again, there will be resources to serve 100 households with security deposits, application fees, and rental assistance for an 18-month period. So if you're interested in applying for this, know that you will be working very closely in a coordinated way. And the idea here is to attract or coordinate resources for the most vulnerable, the people that are on the street. So that is our pitch. If we advance to the next slide, because there is a section here where we want to get feedback from you. Remember, this is our suggestion, but at the end of the day, we need your feedback to make it the COC's plan. This plan takes into approach equity, equity, equity. As we've done historically, our plan is to distribute the resources in a way where we're targeting people where we're targeting the resources where homelessness is the greatest. We're using a team approach. Again, we are one system. It recognizes street outreach teams engage with our most vulnerable, and they need access to the full continuum. And shelters are a key part of the solution, but they can't work in isolation. They need exits and direct connections into permanent housing. And it also recognizes that while subsidies are a key part of the ingredient, because more than half of our population is paying more than 50% of their income towards rent, the reality is diversion and reunification are good tools that we need to utilize, especially if we can link people with the right supportive services that they need. So This is where I want to pause and just open it up to the group. I know we're tight on time, but any feedback? What are your thoughts, initial impressions? Is there something we need to change? This is our time to hear from you.
Before we open up, Miss Tanya, I wanted to compliment you and your team on, this is a lot for you guys to get ready for. I know a lot coming down the pike, especially with that other NOFO. So good job, and thank you for being so inclusive, always asking for feedback. It's so critical. I wanted to plant a little seed before we open it up because I see our vice chair has a question also. Wanted to ask you your opinion. It might not be the appropriate time right now because you guys are under a time crunch, but what opportunity could we have to figure out how to incentivize capacity building where we're matching the smaller organizations with the larger organizations and figuring out how we can incentivize that through point scoring in RFPs? I just want to plant a little seed. It may not be the right time, but it's a value of ours in the homeless action plan. So just plant that little seed for you to think about, and then turn it over to Michelle.
I love that. Mireya is the project manager from our team. She's on the line and will be the main point person for this program. Thank you for that reminder, Karen. I think, Mireya, what we would want to note to that, because it has been something that's, again, been brought up in our homeless action plan, but also in different board and COC meetings, is let's make a note to look at how we can add additional points to agencies who are partnering with smaller, newer organizations in their application. Thank you, Karen.
Yeah, Michelle.
Just a quick addition: cold weather shelter, is that going to be part of this discussion, or will there be a follow-up discussion? Because it seems like we're going to be like 3.5 months before we're there in the cold weather season again. So just want to know if that's going to be part of this discussion, or if there'll be NOFAs with some other funding allocations that we could talk about in the future.
Yeah, so I think historically for the cold weather program, Michelle, we've utilized county general funds, but you're right, time is coming up, so we can set up a call with you to discuss that effort. And if anybody on this line would like to learn more about that program, every year we operate a cold weather program in the city of Riverside. It's been one that started well before my time, and both the county and city have been sponsoring that program. It opens in January for a 90-day period. Actually, last year we opened in December, which was really, really nice to get people in before the cold weather season really started. So I'll be circling back with Michelle, but if anybody has any feedback, suggestions, or would like to be involved in that conversation, please let us know.
And Ms. Tanya, one thing you might want to consider, I remember, when we were in the grips of COVID and you guys did such a great job getting all of the shelter providers together. I don't know if it would be helpful when you're getting ready to gear up for that, of having a Teams call and getting us all together regionally, because we know that the cold weather shelter in Riverside can't bear the burden of the entire county, and maybe we want to engage the other providers so we have a coordinated response. Do you think that might be helpful?
Love it.
Okay.
I love it. Good idea. Any other thoughts, feelings? Again, if we advance to the next slide, while you guys are thinking, I wanted to share as a reminder, our plan is to present this to the Board of Governance, who ultimately will say, yes, we agree, move forward with the RFP, or like you, they could say, hey, we have a suggestion. Maybe we need to move monies around in different categories or add something that we didn't think of during the August 15th meeting. So between now and then, if you're like me and maybe, in a few days, you're going to be like, oh, we should think about this, feel free to reach out to us at coc@rivco.org, or you can email me directly. But the plan would be, following the Board of Governance meeting, that on August 19th, we would release the request for proposals. So again, as we said with HUD, if you are interested in applying for this funding, have questions, have ideas, maybe don't know how to connect the dots, you're a newer agency, as Karen referenced, and want to connect with a more seasoned agency, this is the time to reach out to us. We can have open conversations, which would be limited when the RFP is actually open. So thank you.
Okay, nice job. And we'll all be thinking of you guys. We know you're going to be burning the midnight oil and probably drinking lots of Starbucks and Diet Coke, so you'll need extra caffeine to get through this very busy season.
We love all those things. Thank you, Karen.
Yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next agenda item. Yay! And now we have the amazing John Horn from Coordinated Entry. John, we're so excited to hear your report. And again, my apologies that we had to skip you last time because we know you have amazing things to say. And I think I saw Miss Monique. Is she still on? Hello, yes. My dear, if you're still on, we appreciate you and your team so much.
Hi, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Greatly appreciate you. So I know we're running short on time, so let's dive right into this thing. Next slide, please. This will be the update for actually the month of June, which is right now we're in July, so the month hasn't ended. So this is all these numbers are coming from the month of June. So we're going to be going over the June numbers, the data trends, and then we'll have a couple announcements. Next slide, please. So currently our trends for Home Connect calls, this number is, I just got an updated number. This number is incorrect. Actually, it should be a number of 3,080 calls in the month of June. And we do see a trend, an uptick from the previous month due to the fact that it has been hotter. A lot of these places are, or a lot of these consumers are calling for the shelters, and we're trying to do our best to be able to connect them to those hot weather shelters. Next, we have our community queue. Right now, we have a current number of 908 on our community queue. This number did stay the same as in last month. We did have a difference of 47, which 47 people did come onto the queue last month. So this number did wind up staying the same, which is awesome because we sent out that same amount of home connections last month in the month of June, which was 47. Current home connections that we currently have are 132. We are working on gathering more information on the status of these home connections. Currently on our queue, the most numbers of residents in an area, the highest is in the city of Riverside, which is 236. Next, we have in Indio 144. And then lastly, Palm Springs of 106 clients that are on the queue out of the 908. Next slide, please. So next areas of improvement, we do see improvement with training, and me and myself and Lucy and the CES team are constantly doing training weekly. If you have any training requests, please reach out to homeconnect.ruhealth.org, and we'll be able to facilitate a time that works best for both of us, you, yourself, and us, to create a time to do training. And also what we're going to start implementing, hopefully next month, we're going to go over, me and Monique and Lucy have been going over this, which we're calling monthly office hours. So out of 2 hours out of the month, 1 hour is going to be training. The last hour is going to be going over active home connections that are currently pending. And we're hoping to have Housing Authority be along on this part, because a lot of this does have to do with Housing Authority to get updates for your clients and see what documents are needed, if anything's missing. So we could make all these processes move forward a lot faster. We're always trying to streamline everything as much as we can. Next is data quality. We are starting to implement on a monthly period. We'll be running reports to see data quality to make sure that you are you're still in contact with your current clients. If not, if you're unable to make contact, or if you lost contact with that client, we're going to go ahead and try to make sure that these clients are taken care of. If we completely lost contact with the client, that is what it is. So at least we're able to document that and have the data that we need and the quality data that we need to bring to you guys every month and every year. Next slide, please. Next is our case conferencing forum. We do this once a month. Our next one is on Tuesday. So if you do have a client you would like to go over, please send this form or reach out for this form. at homeconnect.ruhealth.org. We can send you this form, or if you already have it, this does go out in our meeting minutes every month, every 2 weeks, actually bi-weekly. So if you do have any clients that you would like to go over, please send us this form and we can go over that client in our CES meeting. Next slide, please. Lastly, well, one of the last things, we are always looking for presenters. So if you have any information, even like Hope to Home, that was a great presentation today. So if you do want to reach out to us at homeconnect.ruhealth.org, we do have a lot of people that are willing to look forward to your presentation that you even showed the COC today. So thank you for that. Next slide, please. Lastly, of course, we are always looking for feedback. This is how we even came up with our office hour idea. So the more information you guys give us as for coordinated entry, the more we can help you guys and implement things so we can get these people housed. That's all. That's the goal, right, Karen?
That's right. All roads lead to housing.
Right. Next slide, please. And if you guys have any questions, I know we're short on time, feel free to reach out to myself. I'll put my email address in the chat. If not, you could reach out to homeconnect.ruhealth.org and we'll be able to help you out as much as we can. Thank you, guys.
So before we, it looks like our vice chair has a question,
Yes.
but I wanted to just say thank you to you, John and Monique and the whole team. Just from our personal experience on our side of the county, you guys always take the time to reach out to understand what the different local program requirements are, how we can better coordinate. And thank you so much for the continued, very efficient process for those referrals to PSH. You know, for us, we have a big home key project and you guys have just been such great partners. And I know you have to do this at a large scale. Keep up the great work. We really appreciate you guys. Michelle.
Just a quick comment. I just want to thank John and Lucy for all their hard work. Every 2 weeks, they get together with our team for our case conferencing for the city of Riverside, and they're always helping us keep our updated list and are always providing feedback. So I really appreciate you guys. I know you're extremely busy, and we appreciate the dedication. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Karen. And Michelle, we're hoping to get that functional zero for them today. I promise you.
I'm hoping. I think it can be in the next couple months. We're getting our new 2 case managers.
Yes.
Managers. We're gonna get there.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on. We're doing good on time, you guys. Super excited. Greg has some important updates for us. And Greg, we sure appreciate the important role that you play. I know you wear lots of hats and keeping us up to date on all of the important legislation and resources. So take it away.
All right, thank you. Next slide, please. So as far as the state budget, most of you are probably familiar with this, but as you're aware, in the governor's original budget and the May revised, there was no allocation for HAP round 6. And there was significant cuts in both the low-income tax credit and multifamily housing programs, in addition to others housing dollars. Luckily, the legislature implemented a round 6 of HAP. I'm sorry, $1 billion for that. So mirroring the others, they upped the low income tax credit allocation to $500 million, which was the previous amount too, and then restored most of the funding under MFHP. I want to say that Riverside County, we played a very big role in advocacy for HAP. There's a statewide coalition known as Bring California Home. That's a coalition of housing and homeless providers and representatives from local county governments, but we played a really active role in making sure that this that the round 6 went in. So, and again, thanks to all of you who heeded our calls for advocacy as well on that. Just wanted to highlight a couple of the 2024 ballot measures that apply to some housing and homeless issues. Proposition 5 is the initiative to lower the voter threshold for 55% approval instead of the 2/3 that's required now for local affordable housing projects, either in tax or bond measures. Proposition 33 will repeal the Costa-Hawkins Rental Housing Act, which this will allow actually localities to establish rent control measures that are not allowed under the current law. And then Proposition 36 is not specifically a homeless housing initiative, but it's reforms to Proposition 47. I put this here because it's being billed and marketed as helping to solve homelessness, when actually the vast majority of people under Prop 47 are housed individuals. Some of the major changes in this initiative would, as some of you are aware now, is that you can actually steal items under $949, I believe is the exact number, and it's a misdemeanor, not a felony. This will basically claim that if you do that 3 times, then it becomes a felony and will end up in incarceration. Just want to make clear, we're not taking as a county right now any position on these, but I just wanted to make you aware of these. We'll have further discussions as we get closer if we want to do that as a county or COC. And then finally, just a Proposition 1 update. Again, as most of you know, this is the Behavioral Health Services Act, which is the new MHSA Act, not only the update of the act, but also the issuance of bond. The governor did release $3.3 billion in initial release, and is open to counties, cities, nonprofits, and organizations. It's important to note here that the vast majority of this funding, especially in the first round, is actually for bed capacity, and primarily around behavioral health beds allocation. So it is primarily for capital, very little in the first round for operational. We're not sure when the other dollars will be released. We're hearing it might not be till right after the first of the year. I can guarantee you that the County of Riverside is actively creating a proposal under this for increased capacity as well. So those are the major highlights, Madam Chair, and I know we're short on time, so happy to answer any burning questions if there's any.
Well, I know, Greg, that our vice chair had mentioned that this was very timely because I think, would you say applications in the fall? My question is, it sounds like there's not some kind of a formula allocation to the counties and we're all going to have to compete and apply to the state, or can you comment on that a little bit more, what that means?
Yeah, so within the Act, the Behavioral Services Act, there's formulas for the counties, but that's outside of the bond money. Okay. So the bond money is competitive.
So whether it's a county or cities or other, they have to go to the state. And what state agency do you know is going to be releasing the funds?
That's a great question. I'm not sure if it's DHCS or HCD. I can find that out and follow up. So
okay. Michelle, I know you were
actually it is DHCS, Karen.
Yeah, it's not HCD. HCD is going to release the housing money.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm sorry for the acronym, everybody. Department of Healthcare Services for the state.
Well, I know you'll let us know, and hopefully, Greg, you'll be talking to, as you always do, with our county, RUHS Behavioral Health, in terms of if there's anything we need to do to support them, whether it's not just through the COC, but through cities or other providers, whatever we need to do to maximize getting as much money into this region as possible.
Yeah, and I will make a note that we owe Senator Roth a gratitude, and again, really actually gratitude to Dr. Chang, Ms. Deborah, Marcus, for the advocacy in the legislation of Proposition 1 before it went to the voters, because we got language in there that will allow some funding for, say, a new behavioral health hospital and other things that would specifically apply to Riverside County.
Oh my gosh, so needed. That's awesome. Good point. Very good point. Anybody have any questions or comments? This stuff is all super important, so we really appreciate the updates. Great. Okay. We're doing good. Okay, so as far as the other agenda items, you can see under informational items, nothing for policy advocacy committee, and that is our honoring all of you. We have different working group chairs that lead the housing resources and legislation, like Greg, or youth advocacy and legislation like Monique, or community education and engagement like Danielle, or healthcare, mental health care. I believe Marcus is leading that. All of the different working groups. We look to the leaders in those working groups to tell us if they have any updates. If they don't, we don't want to waste your time in convening a meeting just for the sake of meeting. So we hope that you appreciate that, and that you'll give us feedback if there's something that needs, very timely, that needs to be on the policy advocacy committee agenda. So we want to be sensitive to that. As always, Michelle and I are always thrilled to sign letters of support. So we were happy to sign a letter of support to Wellness Equity Alliance. Any of you out there that are looking to apply for grants, we love to do that. Next agenda item. No APRs. We can go to the next. Anybody have any suggestions? Call for agenda items for our next meeting in August. If not, you know how to reach us, coc@ribco.org. Next agenda item. Okay, announcements. I know Miss Tanya has an announcement and then we can open it up from there.
Thank you. I'm glad a lot of you are still here. I have some bittersweet news to share. We are very saddened, but also excited for this particular individual, Monique Guerra, our homeless youth coordinator, who you have worked with since 2021 when she joined our Housing and Workforce Solutions team and started leading our youth homelessness efforts, has accepted a new position with the state California Interagency Council on Homelessness and will be helping them lead their lived experience panel. Again, we are truly, and I want that to be the message that you all leave with today. We are truly, really excited for her and know that this new position is well deserved and, in my eyes, such a great fit. I still remember the very first day that Monique came into our office very fearlessly during COVID when many people were working from home. She wanted to be out in the field, and her duties assigned were helping us build out a youth system of care, helping us launch our youth advisory council meetings, and making sure that we were bringing the right partners to the table. She is one that very eagerly would change her dress pants into jeans, or throw on her boots, roll up her sleeves, as we like to say, to go out into the field and to help people who were experiencing homelessness, not just youth. She is one that just actively did, as Karen describes, use the whatever approach to help people in crisis and would transport them to shelter and coordinate different resources to them at all hours throughout the day. And so we know that we are going to desperately miss her, but want to congratulate her in this new role. So I'm already seeing the many comments. We just learned of this news today. But Monique, I know you're here, and I wanted to give you some time to share any few words that you wanted to with the rest of our Continuum of Care members, who I know have loved working with you and are so thankful for the many wins that you helped Riverside County accomplish and will continue to do so as a state partner.
Thank you, Tanya. That was very kind. And thank you all. This is definitely bittersweet, but also the first time that I do this, right? Most of my job positions and employment opportunities thus far have really just been learning, listening, and I know that my time has been very limited. And so to have been welcomed to the COC with open arms and to just always be heard and right, really allowed to do what I think is always best and what's right has been amazing. And I couldn't appreciate and tell you all enough how much this job means to me and how much you all mean to me. And, I'm going to take everything that you all have said and taught me along the way and really put that into practice. And no matter where I go, I'm always going to remember all of your words, all of your encouragement, all of your advice, your wisdom. And really, I couldn't be doing this move without you all and your support and everything you all have allowed me to do and just allowed me to learn this entire time. So thank you all so much. I'm going to miss you all, but you all are going to do amazing things. And I'm going to miss the YAB. They know that. Well, actually, they didn't know until now, and I saw Savannah put in the chat, but yeah, we will have a discussion about this. I will miss you all dearly, and we'll continue to do this great work no matter where we go. So thank you all. Thank you.
Monique, can I just real quick say you will always be invited as an adult partner to all of our meetings. So please keep them on your calendar or give us your new email so we can flood your new inbox. Any meeting, all meetings, we hope that you will continue to join us as a state partner.
So I just had a quick comment, Monique. You know, I call you my little sister. I said in the comments, I love you. I'm so proud of you. And I wanted to ask you a question just so that our continuum of care can have the benefit of the model that is being used. You're going to the state, is that correct?
Yes.
So assuming you're not going to be working in Sacramento, or are you going to be working remotely? And what will you be doing? How will it work?
Yes, I will be remote and I won't be going to Sacramento. As far as I know, I will be doing kind of what I do now, just on a different scale and with different folks, really leading our lived experience advisory board and doing a lot of youth policy guidelines and practices for the funding that goes out, and just really making sure that the state partners in California are working together to end homelessness and really emphasizing the programming for youth. So continuing to do what I do here, just with different folks.
Awesome.
Thank
Does anybody
you.
else have any questions or comments? Or we're all wrapping our Monique with lots of love.
Monique, you're still my person.
Oh, Greg, we established this last week that, or earlier this week, that we're best friends.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other announcements? Okay, hearing none, you can move to the next slide, Zuli. Okay, upcoming meetings, they're always listed for you on the agendas and in the slides. All the presentations from today are available for you, and I'm proud of you guys. It's 4:58, and I'm sorry if I seemed like I was in commando mode, but I was trying to make sure that everybody got an opportunity to present today. So thank you guys so much. Michelle, did you have something else to say?
Yeah, August 25th for the board meeting for the Board of Governance. That's a Sunday. So what's the actual meeting date?
August 15th.
August 15th. Okay, perfect. Thank you. I'll calendar it.
Okay, I think that's it. Is that the last? Yeah, adjournment. So I wish you all a beautiful rest of your day and week. And thank you all again for all the amazing work you do. And remember, you all were deputized to be bridge builders. So the next time we get together, I want to hear about more bridges that you're building for our system of care. Does that sound good? All right, you guys, have a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.